Okay, let's walk through the manure management plan and how to complete it for the assignment that we're doing in grading forage crops class. When you first download the spreadsheet for the manure management plan, you're probably going to get something that looks like this, and there's a security warning at top. That's because this uses some built-in macros or programs built into the Excel sheet. Macros can carry viruses. That's why when you download something with macros in it, it'll say enable content. We did the same thing with the P-index, so all you got to do is just make sure you click enable contract. It is safe. This one was developed by the DNR and Iowa State University as far as that. So there are no macros in here that are a problem. It's a protected sheet, and we've got it from their websites where I originally got the assignment from. So first thing is about the file. There's actually 6 worksheets on this file. The first 3 are liquid manure. The last 3 are dry manure. For our exercise here, we're not going to do dry manure. When you do this on your own farm with the crop management plan here toward the end of the semester, if you're using dry manure, then you'd go to the second set of worksheets. And I'll move over to those here as we go on the bottom here. So you see down at the bottom, page 1 solid, page 2 solid, page 3 solid. That will be if you're doing dry manure. For our exercise, we won't be doing that. Also, just to mention, if you're doing this for your own farm operation, when we get to year 3, get to the manure application years, you'll have 4 years that you'll be doing rather than just 1. And I'll mention that again when we get to that part of this assignment here. So that's just about this file a little bit. There is an additional tab on here. These are the footnotes tab. You also have a document in the assignment on footnotes that you can print out by itself. That's a Word document, but I went ahead and pasted that document here as a tab also. So it's right with your spreadsheet, and we'll refer to that here in just a little bit. The first page you're going to work on, and again, with the assignment, you received a worksheet with the basic data and information you have to enter. Page 1 is just basic information about the operation. I filled some of this in already. Here on the Northeast Iowa Dairy Foundation is the name of the operation, our address, Kelmer. So you need to go ahead and fill that in on the worksheet you have as we put with the address here. Don't worry about our facility ID number or dating it and signing it, but obviously if this is a full-blown plan, that would all have to be done. We're not also going to worry about this line down here as far as where the actual location is. But on a full plan, yeah, you'd have the township name, the county, and if you have our legal description, that should be listed in there too as we work on it. The contact is the owner is going to be Northeast Iowa Community College. Don't worry about phone. Address, again, would be the same as up there. And then down here, contact person is going to be your name. So if I was typing it up for myself, I'd type in Tad Mueller. Type your name in there. That way I know this plan was developed by you as we finish it and you just didn't get it from somebody else. So as we go on down, we're going to look at some of the other things here. This manure plan is for an existing operation. So I'm going to put an X in that line there. Not expanding as far as we are current. We can go ahead and put in construction dates, but I'm going to again leave that blank. I'm just going to go to the main things as we're working through this worksheet so you understand how this goes through. But those are other things you would have to include in a manure management plan. When was it first built? In this case, it was, I believe, 2001 was the date of initial construction. So I can just say 8/1/2001. And then any expansions, the robot would have been expansion. Don't remember actually when that was built right offhand. And if we were doing a full-blown plan on this farm, we'd also consider beef facility, so there's another expansion there. So we've got basically 2 expansions built into this thing too. So those would all have to be recorded. Next thing we're going to come down is find out some information about our animals. And again, from the information sheet that you got from the assignment, we're basically working with dairy cattle. So we're going to come on down. They're Holsteins. Well, Holsteins are going to be 1,200 pounds and up as we look at it. The maximum number of animals confined is 290. We're not going to consider all the other animals on this operation. Again, to keep this simple and straightforward. You can see why people get paid pretty good money to do all this, just to get into all the details. We're just going to worry about the one operation, and we're going to say, whoops. Everything goes into one main manure structure. And we realize we do have some slatted pits out there, which is different, and a little bit different analysis out there on that. And then we do have the sand and then the other pit out there. So we're going to, again, keep it simplified. We're just going to say we have 290 animals. When we selected this, by the way, you found out here, put the manure analysis in. You can't change that, even though we have our own analysis. If you try to type a different number in there, which is a flaw in the program. They should allow you to put your own numbers in. They used to. The latest version does not allow us to put our own numbers in there. So we'll take the standard numbers. That simplifies it for you. If you want to put your own in, particularly when you get your own plan, you can come down here and fill everything in manually on these last two lines as we like it. Also tells you how many gallons of manure is being produced per animal per space. Line 7 here, or column 7, is how many days out of the year is facility occupied. Well, geez, a year's 365 days. Why didn't everybody put that in? Well, in a beef operation, quite commonly, you may have it sitting idle for a while. Even in some of the hog operations, they may be idle for a while. So you need to tell that. In a dairy operation, those are your dairy operation farmers, yeah, it's 365. So what that gives us when we're done is a very important number, and that's just 1.9 million gallons. That's how much manure I have to get rid of when I get done with this plant. One way or another, I have to account for every gallon of that manure and get rid of it. And I can't put on more manure than I have also. So if I got a large operation, okay, I'm limited to 1.9 unless I'm going to buy it from somebody else. So that takes care of that tab with the information that we've been provided. We're next going to go to the page 2 on the tab and put in information there. Again, I'm not going to worry about the management ID. Method to determine crop yields, we're going to use Iowa countywide yield data. Now, where do I get that? We'll show you that in a minute here when we actually go down and determine the yield. Time of application is going to be fall when we get in there. Surface applied within 24 hours. That's what I'm going to put in there. And that's going to calculate an apple loss of 0.95. If I come down here and actually just say surface applied manure with no incorporation, you notice that number changes dramatically on loss factor because manure has ammonia in it for nitrogen. And that ammonia will evaporate, okay? So if we just leave it on the surface, we're going to evaporate some of that manure. Best practice, though, is get it incorporated as soon as possible. Keep that nitrogen. Actually, if we leave it on the surface, we could actually put more manure per acre on. And if you're trying to not haul manure very far and you want to get the maximum manure per acre, yeah, leave it on the surface. You're going to evaporate some of that nitrogen. Most manure plans are based on how much putting on a maximum amount to meet nitrogen needs and no more than what you need for your nitrogen. So with this aspect, though, best practice is let's get it incorporated right. It smells less. You get more of that nitrogen. Nitrogen's expensive. Hey, let's use it and spread over as many acres as possible. Now we're going to come down here, the total N and P205. We need to put that in. Well, that's on our first table. If you remember, we put that in right here at 25 and 12. So we're going to come in here and put in 25, and we're going to put in 12 for that. And then it says available first year nitrogen, second year, third year nitrogen. That says got a subnote of K on it. If I look at that K there in that line, we're going to come back to the footnotes here. And here's where I first get to the footnotes. The footnotes give you all the information you need to fill out. And if we come down E, F, G, H, I, J, K from table 1, column 3, and I got to find table 1, column 3. I'm going to pause the recording. Actually, our footnotes are a little messed up. This is the first time I've used this new spreadsheet with the newer footnotes. We're actually going to look at L, which is available first year nitrogen in the footnotes. And we come over here, and L is going to come down here, recent research. So it's not everything's available that first year. In the case of cattle, okay, in case of swine manure, we're looking at 100% available. In case of cattle, it's 75, 15, and 10 because some of it's in the organic, some of it's in that straw, hay residue in their manure, the fibers in their manure, okay? So we're going to say 75, 15, and 10% that's available as it breaks down. So what we're going to put in here then is 75% of that nitrogen is available that first year, 15 in the second year, and 10% is available in that third year as we'll look at it. Coming over here now, we're going to determine crop usage rates. Now, where do I come up with my crops? I got corn, soybeans, alfalfa. Go back to your assignment that you did on crop rotation for the class. And the same thing if you're doing this for your own farm. What is your crops? What are the possible crops you plant? And here we've got one other choice here of corn silage. I'm going to put that one in. That determines the amount of nitrogen that's going to be needed, okay, and the amount of P205 that's going to be needed for that crop. And we're going to use a factor of 1.2 pounds of nitrogen for bushel of corn that we're producing. This is kind of a standard the industry's used for a while. It's not an accurate way. The N rate calculator that we played with is a much better way of doing this. But this is what we're going to use in our spreadsheet, or at least the standard for Iowa now. Eastern Iowa is that way. You get out west, because they have less rainfall, you're actually going to need less nitrogen because it's going to utilize more of the nitrogen. Why would you need 1.2 per bushel? Because some of it's wasted. Out west, they don't waste as much, so they don't use as much nitrogen per bushel as it looks at to get the maximum yield. And you notice there is a difference between P2O5 for corn grain and P2O5 for corn silage. So down here, I'm going to select from my crop rotation. Let's say I've got a year of corn silage in that first year. And then that second year, I'm going to go to corn grain. And then I'm going to go to alfalfa after that for my 4 years of my crop rotation. Now I'm going to come to optimum crop yield. And that's going to come from above here. It says statistic. Now, if you have an actual yield for the farm, that's what you should use. If you have it from the Web Soil Survey, they've kind of taken yields off of Web Soil Survey now. They have productivity indexes, but not yields anymore. Another way of doing it. I'm just going to find out what is the average for Winneshiek County. And if we go to our appendix, which you have available in the assignment that I just brought up here, and we go on down here toward the bottom, you will find Appendix A8, which is all the counties in Iowa. Now, if you're in Minnesota, again, you can find what numbers you want, or pick one of the northern counties when you're doing your own farm operation there if you want. And I come down to Winneshiek, and we got 3 different corn yields here, 168, 185, 173. If I go up, basically the first year was a 5-year average. Next is a 5-year average plus 10%, and then an average yield of the 4 highest years. This appendix may be a little bit old, by the way. If you download a more recent one, you probably have a little higher numbers because yields tend to go up each year. But I'm going to go with my last 5-year average Winneshiek and shoot for 10% better than that. That's the number I want to work for. So I'm looking at 185 bushels per acre. So that's the yield I'm going to say for corn. And you say, well, that's corn silage. Well, we're not going to do tons because even up here in this factor, it was per bushel of corn. So that's still how we determine nitrogen needs for corn silage. Same thing, 185. We don't have alfalfa in that countywide averages, but I'm going to say on this farm, we're getting about 6 tons per acre. And actually, that first year of alfalfa, we're probably only getting about, let's say 2.5 because it's a new seeding, okay? And then hopefully we'll get up to about 6 tons in that second year as we look at it. So as I filled that in now, we got some P2O that was removed, some crop nitrogen that was removed, legume N credit. Last year was alfalfa. Okay, so I'm going 3 years alfalfa and 2 years of corn in my rotation. So since last year was alfalfa, as I look at that, the legume N credit, I'm going to give myself about 150 pounds of nitrogen credit to carry it over. Commercial nitrogen, I don't want to apply any. I want to get it all from manure, so I'm just going to leave that at 0. And carryover credit, if I didn't put any manure on, and typically my last year of alfalfa, I'm not going to put a lot of manure on there if I put any. I'm probably going to try and avoid that. So I'm just going to say there's nothing that was carried over. This carryover thing up here is what we're talking about with that. So we come on down, and then we find manure rate for applying supplied nitrogen. So to meet my nitrogen need, it looks like I need about 4,000 gallons of manure in that year. When I get that second year, because I've got no carryover from the legume credits, I get about 12,000 gallons. And then when I go to alfalfa, I get about 7,000 gallons. And then actually on this year, you say alfalfa doesn't need nitrogen. Yeah, alfalfa needs nitrogen. It just makes its own. Okay, but if it didn't make its own, you could apply it. You could actually put on about 16,000 gallons of manure. Okay, well, that would smother your alfalfa. And I usually don't like to put manure on alfalfa because of the catch. It can smother and cause some dieback. So probably in that last year I wouldn't. This year here is a seeding year, so I put it on maybe the fall before, get it worked in a little bit that spring with a disc or something, and then plant into it and be a good thing. So I could go with that year as we look at it. Then down here, commercial phosphorus. Well, I probably got some pretty high soil tests on this farm, so I'm going to just put no phosphorus on commercially. I'm not going to buy any phosphorus. I'm going to try and again meet it with my nutrient needs. N rate to be a P-based plan. At least on our farm here, if you look at the information, we set a P-index of less than 1. That means I really don't need any worry about the P-index. So I don't need to put anything in here. We're on a nitrogen-based plan. So we're going to put on manure to meet nitrogen needs, even though we're putting on more phosphorus we need. We're controlling that phosphorus. So finally, I come down here. So to figure out if I was P-based, I probably have 6,700 gallons. But since I'm nitrogen-based, I'm going to put on 4,000 gallons. I'm just going to round my numbers up. That just makes it work better. And now you notice I went down a little bit because I've got some manure that nitrogen carried over. So I'm at about 11,000. I'm going to say 500 gallons here. And when I get to that new seeding, I'm just going to put on 4,000 gallons of manure. And then on that next year alfalfa, I'm going to put on 0. So that takes care of that page as we look at it. The last thing we're going to do then is come to page 3, year 1 of manure. This year is where we're going to put in the crop year, and we're just going to say, and I'm doing this in 2017, so we're going to say first crop year is 2018. Now, if you're watching this video a couple years from now, obviously that would be different. And then we're going to put our fields in, and you've got several fields, and I'm just going to put in 3 fields, but go back again to your crop rotation assignment and put your field numbers in there, and you'll have a bunch. You could probably copy and paste into there from your spreadsheet. Don't worry about location, don't worry about ID, but here we do want to plant crops. So first year I'm going to say is corn on field 2. This one I'm going to have corn silage. And this one, year 1, alfalfa. Alfalfa 1. New seed. Let's just say new seeding to keep it straight. And this is alfalfa here. I'll put in 4 fields. And maybe I got another corn field down here and another corn silage field down here. So I've got, let's say, 6 fields in here. So 5, oops, sorry about that. 4, 5, 6. Well, those are my fields in there. And again, go to your crop rotation activity, figure out what are the different acres out there. And I'm just going to randomly put some acres in here as I go down. Whoops, I don't have a 3,000 acre field. Let's say we got a 5 acre field there, and we got an 11 acre field here. These are all owned as we look at them. So we can just say everything's owned on this farm. And the P-index value, again, whatever you got up from your P-index sheet, I'm not going to say here what you got because I don't want you to go back and correct it, but I'm just going to say I got P-index of 1 all the way down. It should be not, it's not 1. HEL, we're not going to worry about it, but now we come over here to the corn. And remember, we come back here to this sheet. For the cornfield, we're putting on 11,500 acres. That's a second year, 11,500 gallons. Corn silage, I believe we had 4,000 gallons. Is that right? Yep, 4,000 gallons. I got that from right here. So we'll put on 4,000 gallons on the corn silage. Whoops, not 400, 4,000, because that's a first year following an alfalfa field. And then over here, we're going to put 4,000 gallons on that new seeding also. And you remember one of my other lectures, I said on the first year of alfalfa, first year of corn following alfalfa, you probably don't need any nitrogen. Well, keep in mind, we're trying to get rid of some nitrogen too. And a little extra nitrogen probably isn't going to hurt us, so we're still putting some on. On that second and third year alfalfa, I'm not going to put any on, so I'll just put 0 in there. Here we got another cornfield that's in that second year of corn. And here's that corn silage again, which is the first year of corn as we look at it. So as I come on down, look at it, looks like I have 410,000 gallons. Let's say that's all the fields I have. And obviously you're going to have more fields than that. But hey, I only got under 410,000 gallons. I need to get rid of 1.9. So I got 1.5 million gallons to get rid of yet. So the last thing we're going to do toward the bottom here is contracted out. And that's where I'm saying, okay, I got somebody else who is going to take my manure from me. And they're willing to take it at 10,000 gallons per acre, okay? And at that, I got to figure out, okay, in order to get that many acres, how many acres do I need? 150 acres is going to give me about that 1.9 million gallons. So to contract it out, you actually have to have a signed contract that are going to take it, by the way, when you do this as a full manure management plan. So that's how that all works. You just need to complete that. You only need to do 1 year. When you do this for your own farm, at the end of the semester, you're going to have 4 years of tabs here that you'll have to fill out. So you have 1 year, and then just go to the next tab and change the rotation, whatever it is, and change the amounts as you go across. Again, there's a couple more tabs here. Solid manure, you don't need to do those for the assignment. I just kind of left them in here so you can see where they're at. But for our assignment, we're just doing liquid manure. Hope this helped you figure all this out. If you have any questions, just make sure you ask.